Mrs. Vardakis.
Time of death is in the report.
Great, could I see that?
No. Is that what you think happened?
I ran the island through violence and extortion.
I believe this thing they're saying about it being an accident, do you?
I'm you.
This is somebody. Get off my boat before I throw you off. I told you to leave the island. I figured it out.
What is he talking about? This is a
Spoiler warning. Killer Heat ending isn't just shocking, it's a lie. Buckle up, because this breakdown will rewrite everything you thought you knew. The story begins with a young man named Leo, who is shown climbing a mountain without any support. He often did this, using only his fingers and feet to ascend. We soon learn that Leo was a successful businessman. However, something suddenly happens, and he falls from the mountain. Due to the great height, he dies on the spot. The next day, his funeral takes place where we see his family, including his identical twin brother, Elias, and their mother. A police officer is also present, taking photographs, as he believes that Leo's death was not an accident, but a murder. Following this, we are introduced to a detective named Nick, who arrives to meet Elias's wife, Penelope. She tells Nick that she suspects Leo was murdered and hires him to uncover the truth. She also warns him to keep this investigation a secret, offering him double the payment. Nick agrees and is taken to a house far from their main residence, where he must stay during the investigation. She assures him that the place is completely safe and hidden from everyone. Once Penelope leaves, Nick starts his work. We also get a glimpse into Nick's past. He had a family, but he left them behind for this mission. Nick then visits the police station, where he bribes an officer to access photos of Leo's dead body and the location where he fell. Upon examining the X-ray, Nick notices that Leo's fingers were broken. Additionally, he finds out that a police officer was assigned to investigate the case. He immediately goes to meet this officer and introduces himself as a representative of an insurance company looking into Leo's death. However, the officer insists that it was an accident and refuses to reopen the case. Annoyed, the officer tells Nick to gather information from the family instead. Before leaving, Nick hands him his card. Later, Nick follows Elias to a location where he, too, starts climbing a mountain without any support, just like Leo used to. This seems to be a dangerous obsession. Nick approaches Elias under the pretense of discussing business debts, claiming that an American company is owed money by Elias's company. This leads to a conversation in a cafe, where Elias opens up about Leo's death. He mentions that he learned about it from his wife while he was asleep. Despite their fights, he still loved his brother. Meanwhile, the police officer who had previously dismissed Nick's inquiries is secretly listening to and recording their conversation from his car. After their meeting, Nick confronts the officer about eavesdropping. The officer, now suspicious, demands to know Nick's true identity. Nick evades the question and insists that solving the case is the priority. Eventually, the officer agrees to help him. He plays the recorded conversation for Nick, who notices that Elias hesitated while speaking, an important clue. The next day, Penelope meets Nick and scolds him for talking to Elias without her permission. She fears that if Elias finds out about her involvement, he could harm her. Nick reassures her and asks about her relationship with Leo and Elias. She reveals that she first met Leo while working in a bar during her college years. Despite being wealthy, Leo befriended her, which surprised her. Later, she planned to take Nick to the spot where Leo had died, hoping he might find some clues. That night, Nick visits the bar where the twins had their last fight. He questions the bartender, who is initially hesitant to speak. After some persuasion, she admits that Leo was a good man and that his death was not an accident. He was murdered. The next day, Penelope takes Nick to the isolated location where Leo fell. While inspecting the area, Nick insists that she fully disclose everything she knows. Penelope then confesses that she was unaware of Leo's twin brother when she first met him. One day, Elias, pretending to be Leo, messaged her from Leo's phone and visited her home. Unaware of the deception, she spent time with him, believing he was Leo. Eventually, she became part of their family events, but when Leo found out, he was deeply hurt. Nick then expresses his desire to speak with the twins' mother. However, Penelope warns him that security will be tight at their upcoming family party. Nick convinces her to help him gain entry. That night, Nick sneaks into the grand party on a ship, where he observes the entire family. He approaches the twins' mother, expressing his condolences, but she immediately recognizes him as a detective and warns him to stay away from her family. Elias, noticing Nick, angrily confronts him and demands that he leave immediately. With no other choice, Nick departs. Frustrated, Nick drinks heavily at a bar. The police officer assisting him arrives and warns that people are pressuring him to drop the case. Nick advises him to step away from the case for his own safety. Later, Nick recalls his past, where his wife had betrayed him by having an affair. Determined to continue, Nick follows Elias and spies on him, entering a suspicious location. However, Elias's men catch him and beat him up, warning him to stay away. The officer arrives just in time to save Nick and take him home. The next day, Penelope warns Nick to keep his distance from Elias, as getting too close could be dangerous. But Nick refuses to back down. He contacts the officer and insists that they continue investigating. They obtain records of all boats in the area on the day of Leo's death and discover one vessel that caught no fish that day, a suspicious detail. Nick attempts to locate the boat, but fails. The officer later informs him that the boat will be arriving at a port that night. That night, Nick sneaks onto the boat while the officer waits outside. Suddenly, one of Elias's men arrives and shoots the officer, who gets hit. Nick rushes out, grabs the officer's gun, and shoots the attacker. However, by the time Nick returns, the officer has succumbed to his injuries. Nick is devastated, blaming himself for the officer's death. Now alone in the investigation, Nick revisits the mountain where Leo fell. After gathering new information, he searches online and uncovers shocking details. Realizing the truth, he calls Penelope and tells her to let him inside the house, as he has discovered the real murderer, Elias. Inside, Elias confronts Nick and threatens to call the police. However, Nick reveals that he has already summoned the authorities. He then exposes the truth. The man claiming to be Elias is actually Leo. The real Elias was murdered by Leo, who took his place to control the company. Since they were identical twins, no one noticed the switch. Hearing this, Penelope becomes furious. She had suspected the truth for some time, as Elias was behaving differently than before. Their mother, horrified by the revelation, takes a gun and shoots Leo, killing him. Soon after, the police arrive and arrest her. Nick prepares to leave, feeling accomplished for solving the case. However, while boarding his flight, he recalls certain details about Penelope and realizes that she was the mastermind behind the murder all along. Rushing back, he confronts Penelope, accusing her of manipulating Leo into killing Elias. She had wanted to escape her abusive marriage, and since Leo was infatuated with her, she convinced him to get rid of Elias. However, once Leo took Elias's place, he started treating her the same way, making her want to escape from him as well. She had hired Nick, knowing he would uncover the truth, ensuring that Leo would be caught and eliminated. Penelope breaks down and confesses, but insists she never expected Leo's mother to kill him. Nick, realizing the depth of her deception, leaves, having finally unraveled the entire mystery. Think you could survive Killer Heat World? Tag a friend who'd fail miserably. Don't forget to subscribe, unless you're scared of the truth. Thanks for watching.